Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive with us. This time, where we're going to be diving into Charles F. Haanel's The Master Key System
Oh, yeah.
and looking at excerpts and, really kind of dissecting and pulling apart some of the key concepts and see how they might apply to our lives and the lives of our listeners. So Haanel believed that our thoughts can shape our reality, which is a concept that I think,
Right.
we hear a lot about nowadays. But he doesn't stop at just the power of positive thinking. He gives us a whole set of principles and exercises to work with.
He does.
So get ready, because this deep dive might just change how you see the connection between your inner world and your external reality.
It's interesting because I think, a lot of times people tend to focus on changing things outside of themselves. Like they're trying to fix problems in their careers, relationships, finances, so on and so forth.
Right.
But Haanel takes a really different approach. He says that real change starts from within.
So instead of tackling the effects, we should be addressing the root cause.
Exactly. He uses this great analogy of trying to change the flow of a stream by just, like messing with the outlet instead of addressing the source.
Oh, I see.
So he says, the world within creates the world without. It's a pretty powerful statement. That suggests that our thoughts are like the source of that stream, shaping everything that flows outward.
So, think about how many times we try to change our circumstances without examining, the underlying thoughts and beliefs that might be contributing to those circumstances.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you might be struggling with some kind of financial problem, and you just pour all your energy into trying to find ways to make more money. But what if the real issue is some kind of limiting belief that you have about money,
Yeah.
like deep down inside?
For sure. Absolutely. That's exactly the kind of inner work that he encourages. He emphasizes that real growth is an internal process. You can't force external change without cultivating the right inner conditions first.
Okay, so how do we even start to cultivate those inner conditions?
Wow.
This is where I think things start to get really fascinating. So Haanel talks about thought as energy and power is within. And he introduces this concept of the universal mind,
Right.
this incredible life force that connects everything. He sees each of us as an outlet for this universal mind.
It brings up the question of how much control do we actually have
Right.
over our own minds?
Yeah.
Haanel claims that 90% of our mental activity is subconscious.
Whoa.
90%.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So that means a huge part of our mental life is just kind of running on autopilot.
Yeah.
But I guess that also means that there's a huge reservoir of potential within us, just waiting to be tapped.
Yeah. A lot of untapped potential.
Okay, so that's a little mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
But if most of our mental activity is subconscious, how do we actually tap into that potential?
Well, according to Haanel, the subconscious mind is a problem-solving powerhouse. It can find solutions to any problem if we know how to direct it.
Yeah.
And he provides a set of practical exercises to help us do just that.
So it's like mental training, like physical exercise for our minds.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. He actually compares mental exercises to physical ones. Just like physical exercise requires repetition and builds strength, mental exercises can help us build mental habits and move from simply believing to actually knowing. It's about going beyond wishful thinking and taking an active role in shaping our reality.
Can you give us an example of one of those mental exercises? I'm really curious now.
So one of the exercises that he outlines involves focusing on a photograph. He asks you to study it carefully, noticing every detail, the expressions, the features, the clothes, everything.
Oh, wow.
And then you cover the photograph and you try to recreate it perfectly in your mind.
I can see how that would build mental focus
Mm.
and the ability to visualize things clearly.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that translate into actually shaping our reality? This is where I'm starting to get a bit lost.
Mm-hmm. Well, for Haanel, this isn't just about memory improvement. He believes that this kind of mental training is directly linked to our power to shape our reality. By strengthening our ability to visualize, we're essentially practicing the very skill that we need to bring our desires into being.
Okay, so we're not just passively observing our lives, we're actively creating them through our thoughts and visualizations.
You got it.
Okay.
And that's just the beginning. He goes on to explain how this power of thought connects to the law of attraction and other fascinating concepts.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're starting to see how powerful our thoughts can be and how they connect to this idea of the universal mind. But how does this all tie into the law of attraction, which we hear so much about these days?
Well, you're right. The law of attraction has become quite popular, and Haanel was a firm believer in it. He believed that our thoughts have this magnetic quality that attracts corresponding conditions into our lives, attracts so to speak.
So it's not just about, thinking happy thoughts every now and then. We actually need to focus our thoughts on what we want consistently to see results.
That's what he suggests. He uses the analogy of a magnifying glass focusing sunlight. If the sun's rays are scattered, they have very little effect. But when you focus those rays through a magnifying glass, you can create intense heat. It's the same with our thoughts. Scattered thoughts have little power, but focused thoughts can create incredible change.
That makes sense. But isn't there a danger of oversimplifying things? I mean, what about all the things that happen in our lives that are outside of our control?
You raise a good point. Life is certainly complex, and there are many factors at play. However, Haanel's point is that we have more control over our inner world than we often realize. And by changing our inner world, we can influence our external reality.
Okay, so if we want to manifest positive things in our lives, we need to focus our thoughts on those positive things. But what if we're constantly dwelling on what we don't want?
That's where it gets really interesting. Haanel suggests that focusing on what we don't want can actually attract more of it into our lives. He gives the example of someone who's in debt and constantly thinking about their debt. This actually reinforces the problem and makes it more likely for them to attract more debt. It highlights the importance of becoming aware of our thought patterns and making a conscious effort to shift them towards what we desire.
Whoa, that's pretty powerful. It makes you realize how important it is to be mindful of where our attention goes. We can't just passively let our minds run wild with worries and fears.
Exactly. And for Haanel, constructive thought has to be more than just positive. It must be harmonious and free from destructive or competitive thoughts. He stresses the importance of aligning our thoughts with the creative principle of the universe.
So how do we actually do that? How do we get our thoughts in sync with this creative principle? Sounds a bit mystical to me.
It might sound that way. But Haanel offers very practical methods. He talks a lot about the power of idealization and visualization. By idealization, he means visualizing our plans and goals as already achieved, seeing them in their perfected state, even before they manifest in the physical world.
So it's not just daydreaming or wishing, it's actively working with our minds to create a mental blueprint for what we want to achieve.
Yes, and he emphasizes that this isn't passive daydreaming, it's active mental work. He uses the fascinating example of Henry Flagler, the American industrialist who envisioned building a railway. Along the east coast of Florida, Flagler visualized his railway in its entirety, before even laying a single track. This clear visualization fueled his determination and helped him overcome numerous obstacles.
That's incredible. It's like having the completed project already in your mind before you even start building it in the real world.
Exactly. And for Haanel, that mental blueprint is essential to attract the resources and opportunities you need, to make your vision a reality. He's showing us that we are not just passive recipients of whatever life throws our way. We can actually participate in the creation of our own reality.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. This is all so empowering. But wait, there's more, right? We haven't even talked about the power of words yet. What does Haanel have to say about that?
This is where it gets even more interesting. Haanel believed that words are powerful tools. He saw them as actual thought forms. He said they can create lasting structures, or they can create flimsy shacks. The words we use have the power to shape our reality.
So are you saying we need to be really careful about what we say?
Absolutely. Haanel says that the vital thoughts, the ones that truly shape reality, are rooted in principles. And the words we use to express those thoughts need to be aligned with those principles.
What kind of principles is he talking about? Can you give me some examples?
He mentions principles like the principles of mathematics, health, and abundance. These are unchanging, universal laws that provide a solid foundation for our thoughts and words. He's essentially saying that our words are only as powerful as the principles they're based on.
So it's not just about positive affirmations. It's about aligning our words with truth and principles.
Exactly. And for Haanel, truth is paramount. He emphasized the importance of being mindful of the words we use because they have a direct impact on our reality. It's about choosing words that build, uplift, and create, rather than words that tear down, limit, or destroy.
It sounds like Haanel is really calling us to take responsibility for every word we speak and every thought we entertain. No more mindless chatter or negative self-talk. Got it. But this is a lot to take in. Is there a simple way to remember the essence of all this?
Haanel believed that true power comes from understanding and consciously working with the creative power of thought. It's not about passively wishing for things to change, but about actively aligning our thoughts, words, and actions with the principles that govern the universe. It's a lifelong practice of mental discipline, where we choose to focus on what we desire and work towards it with unwavering belief.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. From the world within, shaping the world without, to the subconscious mind as like a problem-solving powerhouse. The law of attraction, the power of visualization, and even the impact of our words. It's a lot to take in. Is there a way that we can sum up the essence of what we've learned from Haanel's The Master Key system?
I think the key takeaway here is this. Our reality is shaped by our thoughts. That's a pretty radical idea when you really think about it. But by understanding and applying this principle, we gain incredible power to shape our own destinies.
It's like we've been handed this amazing toolkit and told, go build the life you want.
Right.
But it's not just about thinking positive thoughts and hoping for the best.
Right. Haanel isn't just advocating for blind optimism or wishful thinking. He's presenting a structured system that requires conscious effort, mental discipline, and a willingness to do the inner work. It's just understanding the power of thought as a creative force and learning how to use it deliberately, in alignment with the principles of the universe.
So it's not passive. It's active. We're not just bystanders in our own lives. We're active creators.
Exactly. And that realization can be incredibly empowering. It means we're not at the mercy of fate or circumstance. We have the power to choose our thoughts, our words, and ultimately our direction in life.
This has been a truly eye-opening deep dive. As we wrap things up, I want to encourage all of you listening to think about the connection between your inner world and your outer world. What are you trying to change in your life? Are you focused on changing the effects? Or are you willing to explore the underlying causes? Are you aware of the thoughts you're entertaining and the words you're speaking?
And if you're intrigued by what we've explored today, I highly recommend checking out Haanel's The Master Key system for yourself. It's a book filled with timeless wisdom that's worth revisiting again and again. You might just find the key to unlocking your own potential within its pages.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the power of thought. We'll be back next week with a brand new topic and a fresh set of sources. Until then, keep exploring, keep thinking, and keep shaping your reality.